Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to H&D Abroad. I'm Dee.
And I am Herman.
We are excited as a couple, as individuals that are considering what could life be like? What do we want to see in our immediate future? Um, doesn't just come from hopes and dreams, it comes from planning, talking together, and then taking action on those dreams. So, if you are in that kind of headspace, we invite you to join us in this conversation in particular. It's not just for married couples, but we try to do at least one couples conversation every couple of months because that is our lived experience. And so, yeah, sometimes everybody isn't on the same page, or you want to get in alignment with your personality type, how to consider this big move abroad process, how it can be tailored to you and the questions you need answered. So that's kind of what our focus is today. So yes, we are trying to convince our partners, and hooray, I did. Probably 4 years ago, I got him the closest I could get him to a yes, and I was like, I'll take it.
Listen, this is all a growing process, and remembering that you are two people with two minds trying to make a big decision, as with all things in your life. As partners, it takes a little bit of conversation
and negotiation.
And that's part of what we're going to share today. If that sounds good to you, there's 12 people looking at me right now.
Hello,
there should be 12 likes right now just because you saw Dee today. And that's usually a great reason to hit like. I hit like already just because of that. Then please subscribe to our channel. We are a community-based channel. We love growing our relationship in this move abroad process through our learning and understanding of experiences with all of you who join us every week. And hit the notification bell so that you know when we go live, which is, barring we take a break, which we are allowed to do, we come live every Saturday, usually between 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. And if we go earlier because of where our guests are, we usually let you know ahead of time.
I was going to say,
in our community,
we announce it on our community page. So join. That. Absolutely. So I want to say hello to Tanya Brooks, to Raven. Hello, servant teacher Nikki. We're going to talk later today, girl. And Michelle, thank you so much. This community is unique, I feel like, because yes, you're getting information, but because we choose to go live in sharing, like, you get a whole different perspective. And you can ask your questions and have them answered by folks in the chat that are on a similar journey or who have already moved abroad to give you feedback and advice. So if that could make a difference in your journey, we invite you to go ahead and subscribe. And thank you to the replay gang. We know that we have folks that can't join us when we're live. We are thankful and are glad for you to shout out that you are a part of the replay gang and to join in the conversation, because we come back and answer those questions and respond to and celebrate you in the comments even after we are live. So, hey, hi vibe, welcome. So
I'm gonna start this conversation.
Oh no.
She got something to say. I'm gonna start this conversation. I'm usurping. We've always said, and I'll add a link to the other Convince Your Partner videos, to a playlist of the Convince Your Partner videos. You can look at it in the description, because we think these are vital. We say partner, but we also think that you could add in here children.
Yes.
You could add in here parents. You know, there are so many family members that you may feel making this type of choice with may be beneficial to not only you, but to your relationship with them and for them in general. We use the word convince because it is a draw. But one thing that we've said along the way is the issue I have with convince is I'm trying to get you to do what I want to do. And I think a lot of people who are on the about doing something feel somebody's trying to sway them, change their mind. And one of the things I want to say is, when you share with someone, hey, I want to share with something that is potentially a benefit for us together, that is a benefit to you individually. Yes, you are trying to convince them. Yes, you are trying to sway them, but in a way that's not, I'm trying to force you.
See it my way.
Or see it my way. I think that's where I was going. When Dee came to me, and I'm starting because I want to share my personal experience. When Dee came to me and said, hey, I'm looking at this process, you've heard me say, I don't think I've ever been resistant. I think I was unprepared for the dynamic of what that meant. We had talked about travel from the beginning. We are learners by birth, as well as how our parents trained us, and just who we are. So going, seeing, spending time, hanging out. But I lived in a home where every 4 to 5 years we were somewhere different. And I think a part of me was prepared to be somewhere. And when you think be somewhere, you think familiar, you think recognizable, you think long-term, you think those are concepts that you build into your head as an American, that I think you build into your head as a aspiring husband. And longevity means ownership, and ownership means a certain level of, I don't want to say prestige, but I own my land, I own my home. We've been here. I can pass this down. When you say to me, hey, let's move abroad, you're throwing an unknown factor. You now have taken the power away from me to control my environment.
In a way that is familiar to you.
In a way that is familiar to you, right? If you travel all the time as a couple, and you say, let's move abroad, you got two people who are going, I know what this works. I know how this looks. I know how people treat me. As people of color, raised in this country in particular, who've had to deal with, I have to earn my place, secure my place, demand my respect. When you feel like that, and then you add I don't know what the rest of the world is going to see me. I don't know how everybody else is going to act with me. I don't know if what they're saying in that language, if they're talking about me. You throw insecurity into a conversation, it does not always go well.
I have to throw in there also that even when your partner is open to traveling and you all have traveled together, it's one thing to be in another place knowing that you're going back home. Even if you're going for 2 or 3 weeks, when you say move there, there's a shift.
Right.
And so I think the way that we are approaching this conversation is on our channel, we are 50 plus. We have raised our children. They're young adults. They have a rhythm to their lives, and we're new empty nesters. So we've been married for 25 years. We have the the luxuries that accompany a well-established career, a well-established, we have a mortgage, we have cars, so we have this life that we've built, and then we're saying we are going to let all of that go. So I think for those of us who are on the I want to do this side, if you have watched our channel, a lot of the people that are being convinced are not the husbands, it's the wives. And so I've built my nest, my children are here. If you have grandchildren, my grandbabies are here. You mean I'm going to leave hugs and kisses from a little one? And so it's, what am I open to? Am I open to change? A lot of times we don't have to change. We insulate ourselves as people who are older. There's not a lot of movement or change that's required in our lives. We go to the same, we have a lot of the same patterns. And this process is an intentional disruption of calm, of familiar, of comfort. I'm choosing change over comfort. And that is, I think, at its core, where the convincing isn't about making a place look good or, we could have so much fun there. It's fundamentally, yes. On this channel, we're going to talk about the emotional aspect as the center. And I think even if someone says, I love those places to visit, but I want a home. And we're hoping that on this channel, we're also showing that a home base could help someone that that needs to have a place of familiar. My bed, I know the smells here, I know the sounds here. And so what we decided to do, instead of just having a general conversation about convincing your partner, we thought we'd come at it from a different perspective of personality types.
So I want to stop right here and say, Tanya, that's a serious party there.
Hey,
you let us know. We'll be there. I got my fork ready. Let's see. Nikki said, Agent Grateful did a video this week about the guilt of moving abroad.
Yes.
And let me just tell you, the guilt is real, especially about not seeing my, oh yeah. And those things all play a factor. So first and foremost, I think it's important to say, if you aren't already, it's time to take a refresher in communication. Communication and conversation. One of the things that I think, especially as couples, is we take for granted that we know the person we're with. We've been with them for however many years, however much time. I know them. I know what they're going to say. I know how they think. I know how they're going to respond. And we sometimes come to the conversation defensive. We come to the conversation with the expectation that this is going to be I don't agree. I know we're going to get that. And what we want to share with you today is taking a step back and taking a look at the personality, the temperament. See, we're throwing our behavioral science cells back into this today. The temperament personalities of the person with whom you're trying to share this opportunity with. In the psychology world, there are 4 temperament types. We took these tests when we were in college. We were gauging on whether or not we were good for each other and whether or not our temperaments matched. And she still came home with me. Well, hold on. This is diving deep into what your real life will be like after the relocation is key. The boring day-to-day things create stability. Absolutely.
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 Routine. I'm trying to remember. It may have been Aging Grateful, but I've been watching a lot as I wish that convincing your partner was going to be the most difficult mountain to climb. It really is. How do you establish? It's also establishing a routine that everything isn't always going to be new. You can establish a routine that does build in that comfort. So thank you. You're reestablishing. You can reestablish. You can take the most critical pieces of the life that you love, and that is the discovery with your partner, is being a detective of what brings them comfort. If a home cooked meal is what your partner really needs to feel like home, or if it is familiar things like, hey, I know my partner watches the NFL, or he watches whatever sports in community. You begin to study, begin to consider, and then ask, what about the life that you have today is really important to you? And sometimes a part of this is, I don't know.
Comfort is both a benefit and a detriment, depending on where it's applied. When comfort prevents you from exploration, from dreaming, it can be a detriment. But adding comfort into those dreaming pieces, even though we'll be doing this, we'll still do that. I throw them in the mix all the time. Lamar and Angela. Lamar is into RC racing, and he's a settler. He likes to be someplace that he can recognize the go-to. They went somewhere new. They bought a spot. They brought some things with them from their lives here in the States. The house is recognizable in that term, and he goes and does, and is in a space where he can go do his racing. There is familiarity.
Hey,
you can't convince me of that. I've seen the size of your kitchen. Y'all not boring. And newness can change how you feel about whether or not you were boring. It brings that back in. So let's look at some of these temperaments. So let's say the person you're trying to convince is, we'll call them a visionary. They're a go-getter. This is the choleric temperament. All right. So these are people who are very decisive and goal-oriented, and they like to have control over what's going on in their lives.
And change isn't necessarily something that they are resistant to, but like they need to be able to see themselves and to be able to see their success and being able to continue to achieve whatever their goals are in the place that you're going. So place may or may not matter to them. It's, where are they trying to go in their lives? What are the things that they're tracking that will not get off sync because you're changing your physical location, your proximity to the things that they feel like are a part of their goals. If it's work and their job does not allow them to be remote outside the US, that could present a problem.
This is a personality, a person who you want to give them some level of control in the research part of this process. A lot of times the person coming to the table with the I want to has done all of this research, and that research, as great as it is, could be one-sided. So, hey, from the beginning of I'm invested in this as a thought, you want to bring this to this person and say, hey, I think this is beneficial for us. Would you mind doing this research with me?
Yeah.
Because they're now task oriented in the process, and they have some level of ownership / control in making this process move forward. From the beginning, they're saying, I like this, I like that, this looks good, this gives me that. You're moving into a conversation that is not come with me. It's, I think this is good. What do you think? What do you want to get out of this? Does that?
It does. I think what we're also discussing is your the process and how to integrate, how you can integrate together, um, in not just the discussion, but in the planning. Like there needs to be, if there are high level goals of, hey, financial, I want to have X amount of dollars in our retirement savings, but moving abroad, I may come to that slower.
Mhm.
Then then how to highlight, where to highlight not just the cost savings, but what else you could be doing to leverage the financial gains and stay on track with that. That may need to be, hey, we have a budget. Let's build a budget. Let's look at how we could continue to generate income, whether that is through options trading
Mhm.
or uh, diversifying our investments to be more conscious of the goal is I want to retire comfortably.
Mhm.
And there are things I need to be doing now. Well, if I'm going to leave this job where I can, I've got a steady whatever, how am I going to continue to meet those goals? I think when you're considering what your partner's priorities are, yes, I think control is important to this personality type. But I feel like we're talking in theoreticals.
Okay.
Even though I'm
Mhm.
not necessarily a choleric, I feel like for me, there are a lot of places we could go. There are a lot of ways we could leave.
Mhm.
I wanted to keep the house. If I got my partner to a yes,
Mhm.
like this was supposed to be the vehicle, the house was supposed to be the vehicle to help us to save money in the long term.
Correct.
And now I'm saying we got to sell. How you talked me through being okay with that is, I know you don't want to have to worry. Worry is going to disempower you.
Right.
Have peace,
Right.
let it go.
Concrete information. Um, it's really easy to get caught in what ifs, and what ifs do not provide sound information. It's got to be in my goal setting practice. I'm learning that I have to say, in 2 years, I will be doing, and not I'd like to do. It would be nice if this happens, then that. That doesn't work, because it provides too much ambiguity to what the process is. And if you're talking to a personality who has to have control in where their future is going, then you got to say, we're going to do this, and this is going to do that, and this is going to do this. You want it to be able to have an entrepreneurial work, going to this place, and the addition to that is doing the research on places that actually provide the opportunities
To do the things you want
to
to
do
do.
the things this person is interested in doing, this that brings this person joy, and provides you interest in whatever your personality style is. So it may be completely outside the scope of some of the more common places that are, everybody's going to Portugal, everybody's going to Spain, everybody's going to Mexico, everybody's going to Thailand. It might not be any of those places when you combine the personalities of who you are with what's available.
Yeah.
that is a challenge, because then you got to do research potentially that is outside the scope of all the general information that's out there. We got information for this personality type in places like, hold on, Estonia and Kigali, Rwanda, and Panama City, Northern, Barcelona, Accra, Ghana, Santiago, Chile. Some of these are well-established places, but what's available in these places are places that have a lot of startup opportunities and industrial work, and there is still a active, engaging life process in these areas that allow someone who is still attacking life to be fully engaged in.
Yeah. Yeah, they will have the infrastructure for business development. So yeah.
All right. The second type is the dreamer, or as the phlegmatic, the laid back lover. This person is peaceful, easygoing, dislikes change or stress. So how do you convince them? The first thing you have to do is assuage some of their fears, address the fears, acknowledge their fears, not blow them off, not dismiss them, not try to give a reason why it doesn't exist. You want to be able to say, I recognize the challenge that this causes. I recognize the discomfort that this may bring. Go ahead. Bring it on.
A lot in when I was considering this, because I feel more closely aligned with this, is this is not a one and done conversation. The move abroad and getting a person to yes is a series of conversations that both partners are sharing honestly, and both partners are deeply engaged in listening. And I think this, when you're talking about addressing fears and stressors, this is about listening to the words that your partner is saying, but also their body language, how they are. When you're having a sensitive conversation like this, like, where are we going? Y'all remember when you were dating and you were like, where is this going? What are you doing? You're not sitting at the table like this. You sitting knee to knee, eye to eye, heart to heart. And you can tell a closed body. The body, even body language is important. If I'm slightly turning away, if I can't look you in your eye when I'm sharing, arms crossed, or I'm scrolling on my phone, or those can be indicators that the conversation is stressful. And so I would encourage you, if you're talking to a partner, that when you're discussing things in general and they begin to show their stress signs, their worry signs, that you be willing to stop and hear. It is not in a partnership. I believe that my partner has good intentions toward me and is open to hearing my heart and my desires and how I see them in our lives into the future. My concern with a lot of the conversations that I'm reading about in different expat groups is, I told my partner I want to move abroad, and they expressed something that seemed resistant to me. And so I need to leave them. because they're not open to it. There are a lot of reasons for feeling that way. And I've been transparent, probably more transparent than I've wanted to be about, am I throwing us back into poverty? Am I throwing us back into, if we're giving up the good jobs, if we're giving up the things that we've worked so hard for something that is a question mark, that shakes me to my core. And I have the expectation that my partner won't just support me so that they get what they want, but that they're willing to sit with me in the uncomfortable parts of, as I'm letting go of, I'm looking across the room, y'all, at the stacks of stuff that are getting ready, the next wave of things that are getting ready to leave our house. And I'm saying, I'm giving away things that I've worked hard for. I'm getting ready to put a house on the market that, like, it took a lot to put down this down payment on this house that I'm not even sure I'm going to get that money back. Like, those are real fears. And if I can't have confidence that you're going to hear me, it's going to make leaving a bigger barrier than if you just let me say my piece, and not trying to move me along, but to allow me to sit with it a minute and then say, we've done the hard things together before. Why do you have a lack? I mean, I don't want you to ever feel like you don't have my 100%. If I'm the person that's asking you to come along with me, what has got you do you feel stuck? It's where you begin to ask deeper questions for listening and to pay attention to, over time, how are they able to address that stress, that fear?
The biggest challenge I think most people have, and this is one of the obvious things, is not saying what they feel, is stop talking and listen. As a person receiving information, and I'm using I terms, but not me, but if I feel like, because you mentioned that people saying the person felt resistant, I'm going to have to leave them. If I feel like what you're suggesting is more important than me, that doesn't make me interested. That doesn't make me want to do that. And in addition to that, if someone is agreeing to do something with you because they don't want to lose you,
hopefully I'll remember to come back and put the episode where we were talking about moving abroad for your spouse.
If someone is simply agreeable to you because they don't know how to be without you, or they don't want to lose you, you got a problem already on your hands. But if you come to a person and they feel like it doesn't matter what I say, you're going to do this anyway, my ears are no longer open. My heart, my energies are not directed in your interest anymore. You expressing that this is important to you as the person bringing this to the table. The intensity of your conversation, if I am a caring partner, has piqued my interest, has opened my, why is this a thing? Okay.
This personality type needs to have seeds planted.
Right.
You might need to be the wife that, if you are the one that's convincing, happen to be watching something and say, hey, will you watch this with me and tell me what you think? Drop an article, share a video, share.
And for the sake of saying that, and I agree with that Jedi mind trick stuff, I agree with that.
I'm not doing Jedi mind tricks.
But if you're going to do that, when you ask for feedback about it, you're not doing it so that you can share something. You're doing that so that you can hear and amass information, so that when you decide to share, I've noticed in conversations with you that you ABCD, you ABCD. I have an interest in blah, blah, blah. And I think that your interest in da, da, da. Do you see what you've done?
Yeah.
You've made this about the person you're sharing with. You're making their potential life in this process a priority, and not, well, since you can do that, you can do this. You know, you can still do that. That approach is manipulative, or feels manipulative. It feels like you went and searched all the things I can do so you can do what you want to do. Now, yes, mind tricks, because that's what you are doing. Yes, that's what you are doing. But it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And how you come to the table with this information. If you're talking to a person who is conflict aversive, who is risk aversive, who is, again, we just talked about it in the other personality. In this temperament, comfort is even a bigger issue. If comfort is, I lived in this house, my mama lived in this house, my grandmama lived in this house, and you now want me to sell this house or turn this house into an Airbnb and go live in a brand new house. I don't know anything but this house.
Mm-hmm. And you can substitute city. You can substitute.
Okay. The number of people who say, you know, this is, what was the movie we were watching the other day? And the girl was like, this is, he wanted me to marry him and go off with him, whatever. And this is all I know. And I'm going, and I was immediately like, what about a little city makes you want to stay there forever? But that's not my personality. My personality is okay with what's new, what's more. If all I know are the people I've grown up with, I am bored, I am irritated, I become unresponsive because I can't break away from you. I can't learn. I don't feel expanded. That's my personality. But if you're with someone who is, when we got married, I moved to the town she grew up in. But I moved to that town because the circumstances that we were in provided an opportunity for us to grow without there being immediate changes in what was going on in her life. My life, I felt, was flexible enough that I could make that adjustment. But I made that with a clear understanding that she was going to be ready to haul ass at the first time there was a train coming out of town. There was no, I was going to be stuck in that town. We stayed there way longer than we expected, but with a constant conversation of doing something else and doing more. If you know that the person you're with has never considered, never traveled, never left their side of town, and you talking about let's move 6,000 miles away.
It's new.
Yeah.
It's this is a seed planting kind of conversation. It's in this approach, I feel like sometimes the strategy is around spending time in a different way. If you travel, hey, we've never traveled before. Hey, our anniversary is coming up. We've got some time off. Let's do Cancun. Sometimes it's
indirect.
Sometimes we got to go the vacation route before we can go the move abroad route.
I got to expose you to some things.
Sometimes I have some other conversations about where do you want to be? What do you want to do? Even if it is not ideal. Some people, y'all, I have taken it for granted that people think about what they want their life to look like in 5 years. I'm realizing a lot of people are like, I'm thinking about today and maybe tomorrow because I want to know what I'm going to eat for breakfast.
Next month, because the mortgage is due next month too.
Moving abroad is a strategy that if you are shutting down your life in the US, it has to be a long range strategy. If you're not in that kind of mindset, it's going to take some time to turn the ship. And that's what we mean by planting seeds.
This particular personality, the phlegmatic, this is a person where you're saying, this is a person where patience is very important.
Yes.
Okay. This may not be a month. It may not be a year. Hello. You're talking about a process that you are investing in with this person for a place of understanding. You are dropping breadcrumbs and throwing whole bread biscuits at the same time. You are doing little things like explore this with me, read this with me, give me your opinion on this and that. Those kind of conversations. This is I've planned a surprise trip for us, and we're going to go more than you've been on a cruise with me to all the non-real places on the islands. We're going to take a real cruise over to some place that neither one of us had never been before, never thought about before. We're only going to take this much stuff. And we're going to stay in this non-resort place, and we're going to enjoy it from this. You know what I'm saying? You are planning opportunities for this person to see themselves in spaces they did not consider before, in ways and say, how did you feel about being whatever? What if you could? You're talking about investing in a conversation and investing in a movement.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the more you pressure, the more you bring stress.
Shut down.
If you have children, and come on now, let's be for real. Forcing people into something that they aren't prepared to do, you've seen the glazed look, you've had it yourself. Okay. And so in this personality style, you want to ease their fears, you want to paint a stress-free picture, and you want to give them time. Okay. So the next personality type is the adventurer. This person is the life of the party.
Sanguine.
The sanguine is that's social, fun-loving, spontaneous. They get into excitement. They the life of the party. Now, here's the funny part about this personality. The life of the party is often that way because sometimes they are some of the most insecure on the inside. And so now you're saying to them, I'm going to take you way out of your realm. You're not going to, you don't know nobody. You're not going to know the language. You got to make this fun for them. Okay. You've got to explore cities that have an active social life, that have an engaging expat life.
Yes.
That have familiarity aspects in many places. When we were in Panama City wasn't high on my list for me because it was so recognizable. But this person, and I think some of this personality type is me, not totally, but some of this personality type is me. But I need it dialed back. People who always need energy, if you want to walk them into a city like a Panama City, a Mexico City,
Madrid,
Bangkok, Lisbon, where stuff is happening, where Bangkok, Delhi, New Delhi, you stuff is happening, and you want to make it sound like this is the best thing since sliced cheese and sliced bread. They are going to have a good time.
They're going to be able to make the connections that are important to them. They're going to have plenty to do and see and experience because that is That is city life. I mean,
Before
we're
you,
talking, this is not a conversation about choosing where you go,
Mhm.
but I can tell you, if you are on the path of sharing with your partner, that I want to move abroad and they're able to see things that are familiar that bring them joy.
Mhm.
Like Rashida Dow talks about, she loves museums. There are dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of museums in Mexico City. I didn't realize how valuable those kinds of things were until I was in those environments. Sometimes this personality probably needs to try a few places. And then while you're in those places, that's when you bring up, could you see yourself living here?
Mhm.
Sometimes that, because you can construct an experience that allows them to see, to experience people and culture and connection that is important to helping them to feel alive and fulfilled.
You want to connect this person to people before you leave home. You want to drop them in the Monda group with Jewel Wren. You want them to run, face first into Charlotte Van Horn. You want Cedric and Bobby to call them on the phone and tell them about where they are. You want there to be connections before they go, so that when they hit the ground, they're looking for their new friends.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing party. You want to keep it. The information we got was, don't come with a lecture. Don't come with. You want to have concrete information available because you want to have done your homework.
Mhm.
But it's also, you want them to know that this is light living. We're going to have fun. We're going to do what we couldn't do before, and that they can keep that energy going. That's what this personality type is.
Hey, Tracy.
Hey, Tracy Collins. Yeah, we using all our skills today.
Hey, yeah, thank you, Temple.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, even simple things like this. I like small city living, but be near a bigger city.
Yeah.
And that research information when you're talking to your partner, because let's say they still are a social bug, but when they go home at night, they like me. Listen. That's what I like to hear at night. I don't want to hear the drums. I don't want to hear the tamale man. I don't want to hear the people, tingling downstairs. I don't want to hear cars all night long. I need a little bit of, but I also want to be near where when it's time for me to get it crunk, that I'm just down the street.
Look, the dance hall place was maybe a mile away from where we were staying in Medellin. And I was like, you mean I can go dance it like a couple of times a week? It's not far away. What the travel part brought to our connection for both of us to be able to say yes, not just yes to moving abroad, but yes, I can see myself living abroad, is I had to really look at what my needs were. And some of us are out of practice. Remember the person you were when you were in your 30s? I'm not 20s. I'm not saying we're going to do it up like we did back then, but I think sometimes at 40 plus, we've dialed back because, and I think I am choosing places that fit because I'm decentralizing work and decentralizing so much structured time that I want to have more play in my life. I want to have places that give me that opportunity, that variability for experiences. Yeah, I have never been to San Miguel, but the way they meet up to do this, that, and the third, the way that the festivals come through, like I know that can be a place for me because I've seen the things that happen there. It's so yes, this is I think all I want to be able to say about this personality type.
So this last one probably is me. I've been classified as the analyst, the cautious, needs all the details. I think I'm a little more broad. No, okay.
Oh no, I'm just saying.
I think I'm a little more diverse in my personality temperament than this now. But I mean, this is still important to me. Information.
This is me.
And this is definitely you.
This is me.
This is the deep thinker. This person is logical and cautious, needs all the details before making a decision. When we talked with Rob and Elise of Intentional Metamorphosis,
yeah,
Elise came to the table with, this is beautiful. Y'all heard me say before, don't do this is beautiful. Don't tell your man it's beautiful. No, that doesn't. Yeah, my yard is beautiful. My block is beautiful. Yeah, don't do that. What she had to eventually bring to the table was statistics, information on why this was beneficial for Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I think that is important. And I think the same thing goes with Angela when she talked to Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
There had to be some concrete information on why this was more than just a fad, a fancy. You got to come to the information. What is this going to cost us? What is living going to look like? Where are we going to live? How are we going to live? If we need to make money, how are we going to make money? If we're using the money we have, how long is that going to last? Mm-hmm. Where am I going to learn this language? Do I have to learn the language? You got to come to the table with the whole gamut of information. Dr. T is right. This is an emotional journey.
Yes.
And it changes. So you have to have done your research. You got to be able to say, okay, if A is not good, do I have a B, a C, a D, a E, and an F? Because you can't just, hey, this sounded good and oh, that kind of fell apart. Because a person who is not open or who is cautiously open is going to find all the this went to hell videos. It's like the universe just says, let's show you all the reason you should say no. They're going to run into those because their mindset is not looking for the happy. Their mind is looking for the what if this doesn't go right, which I think is important. I think sometimes the convincer in this conversation is not looking at enough of the reality of just this sounds good. You got to look
at folks like us mm-hmm. that are like, look, I'm not saying it's got to work, but I might need to choose a place that gives us a little more wiggle room financially, if that's it, or I might need to be closer in proximity to the States, to whatever, because that logistically is important to how they want to live their life. And so I just feel like so much is understanding your partner's personality, what literally understanding what makes them tick. Sometimes you have to have some conversations that don't appear to look like this is about moving abroad. Sometimes it can just look like, hey, in 5 years, what do you want us to be doing? What do you want? What will our money look like? And you're taking those clues or those cues to your move abroad planning conversation that you're integrating with your partner. Okay, so getting rid of your things. I'm going to use my folks as an example. My dad kept everything. Okay. My dad had a dashiki.
In the 70s.
In the 70s, I remember there are pictures, there are family pictures of my dad in the dashiki. In 2014, 2015, he wore that same dashiki. The same dashiki to a family. We did a day of, like a retro
70s
day.
wear.
70s. And he brought that dash. I was floored that he still had it. When my dad passed, there were so many things. I don't even understand in the space that he had, how he kept so much of the thing. When I talked to him and my mother about downsizing their house, I was like, you guys are, y'all are over 60. We want you all to be able to live independently. It was a no-go on getting rid of things. If you know that about your partner, then you know where to start the move abroad conversation. It's not, we need to empty our house and sell our house. Because that's not even in their planning. It's not what they would want to do. So you're planning hey, if I'm introducing, I want to leave the US, then I need to have a plan on what are we going to do with this house that doesn't require them initially to have to do things that they're not ready to do. When we're talking about convincing your partner, the conversation a lot of times centers on we're moving and we're never coming back. Sometimes for some of our personality types that we've discussed today, where, this can be seen as stressful, threatening, maybe it's, could we spend a little bit more time outside the US? I'd like to spend more time with you in a relaxed environment. I'd like to gain a little bit more language skills so that being in a new place isn't a huge, isn't a huge transition because I can't speak the language. Let's invest together. Unless you are fluent, which I'm thinking about Joycelyn and her husband that moved. They started off in Honduras. Like, her Spanish was flawless. Like, she spoke it as a native. And so being in Central and South America and Dominican Republic, like, it was very comfortable for her. And he had to kind of come along. Her husband kind of had to come along with that. But he was willing because even though it met her goals of being abroad, it met his goals because he was like, I don't see my wife. I want to have work that allows us to spend more time together with our children. Their kids were very small. I think their youngest was 3. And so being able to find examples, y'all. There are couples, more and more Black couples, that are sharing their journey, whether they're married or they're just traveling together abroad, that you can find that mirror some of the same personality types. They're having live conversations that they're sharing on the internet. Sometimes you can't see yourself. Sometimes you can see yourself in others, or you can watch somebody else have a similar conversation that you would want to have with your partner, and in a non-threatening way say, what do you feel about that? I think the exposure part, the spending time listening, Angela and Pierre, yes, are another really good example of, I'm ready, I have responsibilities, and how do we come together on that?
And I want to go back to what Agent Grateful said too, while we're looking at this comment, is because one of the things I want to say to a lot of the presenters who are present in the chat today is, I think a part of the reason we've asked you all to be on our show in the past, on our channel in the past, is because we appreciate the balance that you bring in a conversation.
Yes.
Here's where we're going, but this is also the truth factor in some of that. In San Miguel, it looked like y'all having a blast, but you will also have shared, hey,
reality.
this is what it's costing us. This is what you got to plan for. We've had some ups, we've had some downs. Those real conversations, I think, are what this community has grown since we've learned to be a part of this process. When we started, there was just a lot of people out there talking about, you should go to, whoa. And I was like, yeah, but
how do you get there?
How do you get there? And what does that look like? And what if that goes bad? I mean, listening to Cartel say, yeah, so-and-so used to live there, they went home. So-and-so used to live there, they went back to the States. So-and-so used to live there, they went back to the States. Okay, and you heard me talk about recently, the couple that we enjoyed watching. And he ended up working with me here in Alabama when they were down in Mexico. He said, hey, some things changed. We had to move, we had to shift, and they made the adjustments. And I mean, that's a part of the real value of Black couples sharing their journey. Absolutely, Dr. T. And you're making yourself vulnerable in this conversation.
Absolutely.
You're telling your business.
But don't tell all your business.
In recorded form. But I mean, the reality of this conversation, take a step back. Every one of these temperament styles that we brought today require the respect of providing them with patience, with understanding, and more listening. Mm-hmm. When we want something, we talk a lot. We say a whole hell of a lot when we want something, and it takes effort and the respect of the person with whom you're sharing this information to say, what do you think?
Hold on. She making, y'all know I can barely go through a conversation without mentioning Rashida. And I want to be the person I am when that struck me so deep. And what I realized, Dr. O, also is my partner like that person too. and that you are willing to make sacrifices to be able to have that person more often.
Absolutely. But when you come to the table with the I, as you should, take a step back and be careful that you are not searching for your potential partner, that you are accepting your partner for who they are.
Okay.
You're looking at your desire for your potential self. Mm-hmm. And that is well within your realm. But do not potentialize, yes, I made that up, your partner. And you could be, and this would do, don't live my life for me. Don't dictate my life for me. Allow me the space for self-evaluation, for self-actualization, because the more I come to myself on my own, the better the opportunity of the person you could get to know. If you're trying to force me somewhere, when you're in love, you'll make all kind of accommodations, compromises, that I talk about this with David, with Cedric. Those of us who are crazy about our wives, the most beautiful thing in the world is to see your woman be great. To see the person you care about the most do and go and share. Hell, I can sit back. I don't have to do nothing. what we take for granted is that if I am not also in that same advancement phase of my life, or have already reached some level of self-actualization, I'm now losing you instead of gaining you.
Because the move abroad process will change you. Are you willing to transform as a result of the process? That's the biggest
if I'm holding this caterpillar in my hand, this bird in my hand, this flighted being in my hand, to allow it to heal, and I'm stagnant in my support, eventually this healed being is going to fly away, and I'm going to have atrophy from having stood here so long.
Oh.
So, brothers, in our support, make sure you have a life of your own.
That you are intentional
about
seeing yourself and growing.
If either partner in this process, you don't like what's going on, you have the right to say, I'm not ready. It's not my time. And hopefully the convincing, respectful partner will say, what do you need?
Mm-hmm.
I have an issue with well, if you're not, I'm leaving you here. I have an issue with that, because it feels like, as I said when we started this, you've prioritized something over this joint growth process, which is not always side by side. Help me out.
Okay, so I struggle. This is not the central part of our conversation, but I think it's something that needs to be said. If you feel that you are at an impasse in the conversation with your partner about moving abroad, and you have active listening techniques where you are not in a distracted environment, where you are intentionally asking questions and listening, and it seems as though your partner does not feel heard,
Mm-hmm.
or feels pushed, or is shutting down in those conversations, sometimes you need an outside moderator.
Agreed.
That is qualified, not your mama, not your cousin, not your move abroad best friend.
Yes.
You're a person trained in therapy to help you walk through those initial steps.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great, yes, we are going to always lead back to counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health it's like you get to talk with someone that helps you to develop a muscle, to retrain a muscle, develop new skills for connection. Our conversations with Kelly,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you, we are professionally trained as in psychology, but sometimes you need somebody to say, do you hear what he's saying? What did you hear that he said? I noticed your body language when talking about. Those conversations together led to conversations that we needed to have separately with our counselor,
Mm-hmm.
because they open some of this move abroad, convince your partner conversation is going to touch something that may not be healed,
Mm-hmm.
may be an old wound, or may open up something that you had not considered within your partnership that needs to, you don't even have the vocabulary to articulate why it's causing that response.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I would expect as a person who wants to move abroad, who sees that my partner is struggling, all I ask is that we not just recognize that you not just recognize you're having some difficulties, that you're not just saying, I'm not ready to do this now, that I want to be able to see you taking an active role in your self-discovery, in your healing journey. What would make me say in my
Yeah.
in the whole Black woman that I am,
Mm-hmm.
moving abroad is what I need.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see you taking steps toward your personal discovery, your personal healing. Am I expected to wait indefinitely for you to show me that you are willing to try because it's something that I need? And I don't need it later. But if you are healing and you're working, I'm a supportive partner, but you can't expect me to 10 years down the road when you are at a more ready. I'm not saying that a partner is manipulative, could be manipulative in that stance, but
That's
I'm
fair.
saying that there's a little bit that dies in the person that is doing the convincing when I don't see my partner discovering what is causing them to be stuck in a conversation that is open to how can the future that we're building together that is keeping us stagnant and not moving forward, where there are available tools and opportunities, whether you are journaling, meeting with a talk therapist, identifying historical things in your life that trigger the stress, the anxiety, the whatever response that this move abroad conversation is having. But it's really hard to say, I need this now, and then not have a partner that's willing to begin the process of moving forward, that keeps that door closed to them and their heart, not necessarily closed to the process, but definitely closing their heart.
And I agree with that. I agree with that. I think what I want to suggest is deciding in your personal situation if that's the case. Because I'm not ready does not mean no for everybody. And there are people who feel I'm not ready means no.
Well, maybe that should be another conversation.
Okay.
How can no show up in the conversation?
There are people who are no.
Yeah.
If my life, what was the couple? Con leche,
Cafe con
leche. If I put aside, let's phrase it like that. If I put aside something that's important in my life that becomes less accessible to me if we make this move, okay? And I now have to make big changes to be able to stay engaged in whatever that piece is of my life, it may just be easier for me to say, not now. There are times when you can say, hey, you know what? This may be a challenge, but I can pick this up and go over there and then make that work. But that's not true for everybody. When Jimmy and Rosemary first moved, Jimmy was having to come all the way back to the States to stay engaged in the work he was doing, and eventually had to stop doing that work. And that was not cost effective for them in making that process. Have they made it work? It appears so.
Yeah.
Okay. But the struggle for that does not always lend itself to, well, then I'm just going to put this down. And what I'm suggesting is don't
love it.
Don't feel a no where there's not a no.
Ooh, come on. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to put up Agent Grateful's comment, but then what you're saying right now, Temple is saying objectivity. Literally, what I want you to see in our channel and what we're sharing is that we are turning this. I know a lot of people are like, man, y'all are just belaboring this. I'm telling you, we're having these conversations while we clear the house. We're having these conversations while we are looking for a property manager. We're having these we're moving forward. We're having these conversations while being actively in therapy. Y'all, I'm telling you, it's both and not either or.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Listen, she talked about our joint counseling. In my individual sessions, I'm like, dude, tell me something I don't know. I mean, and not in a way that's like, okay, you're not helping me, but it's like, it's almost like when you're going, I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, but sometimes you need that outside voice that says, okay, slow down a minute, pause a minute. Did you actually say that, or did you just think that in your head? Did you actually share that, or did you just feel some way about that? And because in this conversation, and I always go back to that word, in this conversation, you are sharing with someone who means much to you, and not just your partner, your children, your parents, your best friend. There are whole kind of ways people make this move abroad transition with people they care about. What am I bringing to the table? How am I presenting what I'm bringing to the table? I'm watching Chopped again. It's a great plate. What's that plate look like?
What is plate? What is plate?
What's on the plate? What's the presentation that's being brought here? And in all these pieces, even if it's pretty, do they make sense together? You can bring a whole bunch of things and people go, okay, I hear what you're saying, and you had me here, but then you added all this other stuff, and I don't understand how this is going to be beneficial. This sounds like this is going to cost me some stress.
Or you had me at yes, and then you added all this other stuff, and now I'm overwhelmed. I feel stressed. We don't have to make decisions about everything right now.
I'm gonna step out of the screen.
Look,
relationships, regardless of who you have them with, but especially in a marriage relationship, require you to stop and say, this is not me.
And there's a whole history, background, experiences that they bring to the table. Even if you have been together, even if you are talkers, like we are talkers.
Every day.
He keeps telling me, he was like, I've heard that before, but the way you're sharing it, when you share the precipitating to the event that I saw, and then the after effects, he was like, I had no idea. Sometimes relationships require you to go a little bit slower, whether it's in the beginning, a little bit slower, to build in the foundational pieces so that you can intentionally go faster together.
In learning this Spanish language, and because I think it's a great example of this. In learning this Spanish language, I can read it. I can tell you what it's supposed to say. I can tell you what the words mean. You start talking that to me, and it's just, okay, I got nothing. Because there are pieces of words that I'm catching and pieces of words I'm not catching. And if I don't understand fully what's going on, then we're not having a conversation. It's okay to say that again. Get that to me one more time. Okay, I know you're saying it's important. Tell me why. Don't use the words you just used. Tell me again why it's important without saying what you just said.
And that I not take that as harmful
Mhm.
as manipulative. It's
As
not just
disinterest.
as disinterest.
Mhm.
Because I'm going to admit, I will say, I told you that before. You don't remember when I said that ramps me up. And I say, he wouldn't ask for me to go over it again if he wasn't willing to consider it. I'm telling y'all, some communication triggers, the convincing your partner conversation are landmines.
Hmm.
Can be the landmines that set you off. And I'm saying,
Talked to a good friend this morning, and he said, "No, we can't talk about it like that. Don't start now. Won't be none." I mean, and
so,
and each collaborative of persons in this conversation, you have to have this conversation in a way that is authentic to those people involved in that conversation. We are providing here today information on taking a step back and taking a look deeper. Who is the person you're sharing with, and who are you?
mhm.
How did you come to the table, and how did you perceive they received it? And then ask them how they received it, not just go based on your perception, not just go based on what you think happened here. Hey, I know I said a lot here. What did you get from that? I ain't like it. I ain't feel it. I didn't understand it. Give me a minute so I can think about it. And be okay with all of that. And be okay with all of that.
Because sometimes the men don't have nothing to say after.
Sometimes.
And I'm telling you, recognize that it could be a trigger, but the honesty is, I need to think about it and not I walk away from the conversation.
Right.
Some of this stuff, y'all, is just the fundamentals of communication.
And said, Bobby, boy, they teaching
They got
class.
I was about to say they got a school.
We are not the same people who said yes all those years ago.
Oh, please don't be.
Oh, see, cut it out.
No, you were good then, but
I know.
But I mean, like, it got
teasing.
gooder and gooder.
All right now.
All
Let me hit the end screen. We are individuals growing together.
Yeah.
That is a part of the humanity of life. Yeah. Every day that we go to work separately. And even if we went to work together, our experiences, our understanding of what is happening today is individually, we are impacted individually. Mm-hmm. And we bring that individualism back to this collective process. So whether your person is a cautious person, an adventurous person, an overthinker, an underthinker, a non-thinker, you give them the space, offer them the respect of the space.
Thank you.
To hear what you said and to process it in a way that is authentic to them.
Yep. I am eternally grateful for this audience.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm eternally grateful to the content creators that are sharing, and that there's a yes. Mm-hmm. There's a yes that we have been able to find. Mm-hmm. And I think for a lot of couples, getting to yes may take time, but investing in your partner in this way has been worth it for us. Mm-hmm. I know from 2020 till now that we have grown as a couple. Specifically, y'all, I did not expect, I just thought you pick up your stuff and you go. This is transforming my life and the relationship that I have with you. It is transforming the way that I parent and love our kids. I am willing for this process to transform me. Convincing my partner had me to learn new things about myself, and that Love, I think, is brings us full circle, I think, every time.
I appreciate your patience. Because in the investment forward, also in learning the process of taking a step back, which can be, which can appear, what was the song? 2 steps forward, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And for you to take the patience to say, okay, he's not moving away from me, he's recalibrating and allowing me that space and growth in this process. These conversations are personal to us. We share them in our learning. Not in a space of expertise, but just in, hey, this is what we're doing. When we sit down and we watch Tracy and Cedric and Bobby and Dr. Linda and Nikki and David and Temple, when we sit down and watch you all stuff, we go, huh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
And Angela and Pierre are putting it on Front Street.
And Angela, call us after this is over.
Yes.
Call her on the phone. There's a because it's so easy to take things for granted. It's so easy to go, well, I already know the answer to that. I already know how this is going to turn out. I already know what they're going to say. I already know how they feel. And the evolution of each individual kind of negates some of that. Because yesterday's no could be today's yes, and vice versa.
Ooh,
okay.
Don't talk about it. Maybe that should be another conversation.
What's her name from Ghana who talked to us? Barbara. She said her daughter came to her and said, we need to move out of the country. She sat down, went through the whole process of learning how to move out of the country, got everything in place, got her ticket, and the daughter said, I ain't going. But it was the best thing for her.
Yeah.
That is a part of dealing with real people in real life. If you came in later today, we are so glad to have seen you.
Hi, Jace.
Saw Greta. Good to see you,
hey,
Greta. Jace. Go back and watch this one again. I'm going back to watch this one again. Share this with others who are in this process, who are learning. And if there are things that we could also share or also consider, these write notes like crazy over here. Let us know, because we always are in the process of learning and growing. We have a lot of appreciation that you share in these conversations with us, that you took some time out of your day to sit down here and listen to us and throw some words in. I am the humble H. Herman, and this is my beautiful bride, D. This is H&D Abroad. We're here all the time. We're going to add some past stuff into the description that we think is important for this conversation. We'd like for you to go back and watch.
There's a whole Conventure partner playlist that could give you some questions to ask, some things to consider from both sides of the conversation. This is an ongoing. So if there is a section of this that you'd like for us to go deeper on, if you know of some other couples that you are watching that are having, please suggest it to us. Trust me, we're out there looking. The algorithm sometimes gives us the gift. Sometimes we share good things. All the time we share good things in the community, and we appreciate the opportunity to do that with you all today.
If you have not done so, please subscribe. And for the sake of the community, subscribe to all these people here in the chat today, because they all got great things that they are sharing. And we'll see y'all again next week.
Bye for now.
See ya.